I'm at Stanford University, and we have an approach to addressing some of these issues that I think can really make a difference, and actually has made a difference. It's called the Uncommon Dialogue. We bring warring parties together on tough sustainability issues, and we do what we can to find common ground. And one of these of late has really given us some significant outputs, and that's the long-standing war between the hydropower industry and river conservation folks. It goes back over a century. And we brought them together. It took 2.5 years, but we reached a major agreement on how to both advance hydropower but do a better job of conserving rivers and waters in the United States. With that agreement, we went to Capitol Hill, and we got $2.3 billion with a B to begin implementing our agreement. The solar industry approached us and said, hey, we're having a terrible time citing big solar projects in the United States. So we launched another one of these uncommon dialogues between big solar developers and the land conservation community. It took us 20 months, but we reached a major agreement just last October, and we're beginning to implement that. And then finally, one of the interesting things that came out of the discussion, the debate over big solar, was how do you cite big transmission lines that you need to get big solar to market? Those are very big battles. So we just launched that. We've got a group coming together next week, actually, and we're going to really see what we can do to get these lines built, but do it in a way that respects communities and the conservation of land. The real key, as far as I'm concerned, is getting the broadest possible groups of players together and work through these tough sustainability issues. I think about a triangle of technology, policy, and finance. If you don't have all those players at the table from both the private sector and government, you're not going to make as much progress as you need to make on these really difficult climate and environmental issues. So, got to have folks from government, you've got to have folks from industry, you've got to have folks from the environmental community, you've got to have tribal interests represented, and a broad array of folks who come to the table and with some big issues that they're not just debating but fighting over. But if you get them to the table, if you set up a level playing field, sometimes you can get to a real result that gets us to where we need to go on climate, on conservation, and on community. All of those things that we need to put together to make progress on climate change in the US and around the world. The private sector and government, I think, can make much more progress if we look broadly at what's at stake. And in many of these things we've got to get built, for example, big renewable energy projects, you've got to take advantage of climate, conservation, and community. You've got to address all three of those together. And if you can do that across a very diverse group of players from government, from industry, from the non-governmental organizations, you have a real shot at solving some of our big climate problems.